One of Eric's first big moves is to start taping at Disney, and he's doing this to cut costs and to give the show a big look with the Disney flyover to start the show. He's trying to position the brand to not look like it's second best, quote unquote, to the WWF. And he felt that a Disney partnership would lend some of their credibility to WCW. Bruce, partnering with Disney, as silly as it may sound to some wrestling fans, is kind of a stroke of genius, was it not?
In hindsight, yeah, it was. But from the WWF point of view, we were never ones to subscribe to the theory of studio wrestling. Didn't like studio wrestling. Didn't like the feel. Didn't like the TBS show. It was considered too small and almost sanitary in a lot of way. And Vince liked the arena look. He liked the big arena look. So he just felt that it was going backwards and was...
Well, I'm not arguing that, but he didn't have... You're saying that I'm asking you to answer the WCW side, and you're giving me a WWF version. What I mean is WCW's not drawing house shows. They're actually losing money on their house shows. Their television tapings are not selling out. Tickets are not moving. So they're running these shows at a loss. So if that is the case, because you're packing it up and moving them everywhere and doing different dates, why don't you just load a whole day up full of back-to-back tapings? Don't worry about charging for tickets. Just run it at a loss, but minimize your production costs and your travel costs and your number of dates that you're paying your guys. And in the process, by doing that Disney flyover and you see those Mickey Mouse ears on top of the water tower, it feels like it pulls WCW Southern Wrestling out of the South and makes it more of a recognizable brand, at least by association. Because no matter who you were, at that time, the WWF was almost like the Kleenex or the Coca-Cola or the Band-Aid as far as a brand of wrestling. Any sort of mainstream media always referred to professional wrestling as a WWF wrestling situation. This, to me, feels smart because it reduces your overhead, but it also, to use a wrestling term, you kind of get the rub from Disney.
It was smart. Definitely. It was smart, and it was different. I think that but again, the traditionalists, everybody pokes holes in it with guys getting hurt and switching titles in advance. Oh my God, everybody's going to know so-and-so's not the champion right now. But to that point, they weren't running house shows. They weren't making money running house shows, and they weren't going to run them. So it was smart. I thought it was a stroke of genius in how they did it. Hindsight.
Well, I was going to say, if you were going to shit on it much longer, I was going to ask how your most recent Impact tapings went, but we'll move on. While he's down in Orlando taping at Disney, Flair helps Bischoff set up a meeting with Hulk Hogan. And Bruce, this is less than a year away from Hogan's last shot with the WWF and right smack dab in the middle of McMahon's steroid trial. What was the reaction to hearing the news that Hogan was meeting with WCW?
We kind of felt it was inevitable, and we thought that Hulk was trying to do that as a power play.
Right.
That I'm going to go down and meet with them to solidify my position up in the WWF, and by God, they're going to come crawling. Vince felt that at the time, you know what? If he wants to go, let him go. It hurt. It was kind of a kick in the teeth, but it hurt. But at the same time, he wasn't that upset about it. I think inside, more personally, he was more upset than he was business-wise because the WWF at that time kind of needed a rest from Hulk Hogan.
Something everyone was talking about when Hogan signed this deal was the language creative control that was included in the contract. Is this the first time you remember hearing of a talent getting this? And what did you think of Hogan negotiating this in black and white?
Genius on his part. Again, if you're going to take care of that character, then have control over it and be able to have some say in what they're going to do with it. So I thought it was extremely smart on Bischoff's part. On Hogan's part. And for Eric, what'd they have to lose?
Right.
So they got Hulk Hogan. In order to do that, they had to make some concessions. And everybody likes to poke holes in Hogan's contract and some of the things that they did. But they weren't running house shows and drawing money there. They weren't selling merchandise. So to give up these things, you weren't giving anything up. So anything that you brought in that you were able to realize by the acquisition of Hulk Hogan, is all positive, and you're getting something you weren't getting anyway.
Once they do this Hogan ticker tape parade after he signs, they go straight to pay-per-view, and it's the pay-per-view most fans think that WWF should have done 2 years prior at WrestleMania 8. It's Ric Flair versus Hulk Hogan at Bash at the Beach 94. Was there any feeling of, man, we shouldn't have let them do this?
No, not really. It was inevitable. We knew once Hogan was there, they had to go there.
Yeah.
Where the hell else are you going to go? You want to get your match with Hogan versus Flair. So why not? They'd already done it in the WWE prior to that, and they didn't have a lot of success with it, so they weren't that worried about it.
And then
if they didn't do that, we probably would have wondered what the hell were they thinking.
How come when they don't do it, you wonder what the hell they're thinking, but you don't do it?
Because they had nothing else.
It was their biggest pay-per-view they'd ever done at that point.
Okay.
I was just throwing it out there.
It's not saying a lot.
Are you really doing this right now? The WWF ran King of the Ring in 94 and got 185,000 buys. This Bash at the Beach does 225,000.
Well, it should have. They had Hulk Hogan on it.
Oh, gosh. We'll move on. Randy Savage and a lot of other former WWF talent signed with WCW by the end of 94. And a lot of this is happening because WCW is offering guaranteed contracts with fewer dates. The first guaranteed contracts in the business started at the end of the Crockett era with guys like the Road Warriors and Lex Luger, but these continue even when Turner buys the company. Of course, the various leaders there, like Bill Watts, were trying to cut costs. But when Bischoff comes in, he's able to get Turner to buy into investing in the company in order to compete. And with some right hires and creating some efficiencies, like no longer running house shows and taping at Disney, they can afford to do this. But this is not the way the industry has done things historically with guaranteed money. So the lure for the guys jumping ship here is the guaranteed money at a time when the business was down and with fewer dates, right, Bruce?
Oh, very attractive, man. For guys to be able to know in black and white, I'm going to make this amount of money in a year and have it guaranteed. It was unheard of in the business, and it hit, few guys had it, but now Eric was making it a standard deal for everybody. You come in, you have X amount of dates, and you're going to get your money. It was attractive as hell.
Compare that to the WWF standard deal at the time.
We guarantee you opportunity.
It was 10 dates for like $1,500 or something like that, right?
Yeah, it was some. I don't remember if we even had specific dates in there that we guaranteed people. It was just like if you worked TV, you were guaranteed, I think $50 was the only monetary guarantee that was in the contracts. We guaranteed you opportunity. That was it.
So it's no wonder, that some of these guys make a business decision. We're skipping a lot here, but this show is about Bischoff and the WWE. So we'll go forward to 1995 when WCW announces they're going to be live and head-to-head with Monday Night Raw with their new program, WCW Monday Nitro. Bruce, when the announcement was made here, was anyone in Titan nervous? Because it feels like this would have been something Vince would have kind of laughed off.
No, we did not. We did not like them moving to Monday nights to go head up with us. It was a major network in TNT, and TBS was basic cable. The other thing that TNT and Turner had was nationally, they were a part of every single basic cable package with every major cable carrier in the country. USA, a NBC Universal property, was not. So while USA, for most people across the country, was a part of basic cable, there were a lot of places that USA was on that next tier, and they weren't always a part of basic cable, and they weren't always included in the majority of cable carriers around. And especially this used to go up Vince's ass sideways, which was kind of funny. Sidebar here. When you would go and travel on the road. There were a lot of hotels, for the most part, back in the day, that they all carried CNN, and they all carried TBS and TNT, because Vince was convinced that Turner had this deal with him. Okay, if you want CNN, you got to take my other properties too. And so that kept us out. So Ted Turner had deviously done this deal to get in the hotels and keep us out. It's like, really? It just was funny, but it's you go through the airports, and for the most part, it was all CNN, and Turner had a monopoly on that news channel format for a long time, and for people to take, if they want a CNN, they had to take his other properties, which was genius as well.